Good evening, gentlemen. A lot has happened, but something has happened as far as Europe is concerned, and that is Ukraine seems to have become an area of low importance, low priority. Everybody's become used to what's happening in Ukraine. There's a battle on, yes. Russians are not winning, neither are the Ukrainians, there's a stalemate. But there are wheels moving, and that means there is a danger of a nuclear war. Now, what is happening is the war has gone on for 14 months, and somehow the Russians have not been able to subdue the Ukrainians. And the reason is not far to seek, because Ukraine has been given a tremendous amount of weaponry by the NATO, Americans, as well as the British. And as we all know, Mr. Zelensky has just been on a visit to England where he met Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, and then has gone and met Mr. Macron, the French President. So he's got a single point plan. Give me more weapons so I can throw the Russians out of Ukraine. This is easier said than done, because the Russians have also got a fair amount of advanced and sophisticated weaponry which they are using in Ukraine. And as per my reports, the Ukrainians are suffering some heavy casualties. But at the same time, they're not giving up. They're thinking that we'll get the weapons from England, we'll get the weapons from the Americans, and we'll keep on fighting and we'll win ultimately. These are fond thoughts, but it's far from reality. And the reality is that there's a stalemate on in Ukraine, that's number one. And the second point is, Ukraine is destroyed. Third point is, 25% of the population of Ukraine has become a refugee and they're floating around in Europe. And if you call this a success, then I don't know what failure means. But there is something very dangerous which is lurking. And I think I was going through one of the videos of one of the American specialists, and he had said that Putin is going to do something disastrous for the West. And what is that? The only way a stalemate can be broken and Zelensky made to see reason is if somehow the Russians can engineer a nuclear explosion in Ukraine, and I have a feeling they will do it. And they are not going to do it by a direct missile attack or something, or put a missile or nuclear warhead and sort of hit any place in Ukraine. No, they won't do it that way at all. And they will make it look like an internal implosion in one of the nuclear plants. And Ukraine has quite a few of them. And if one of them goes up, and it's going to be very difficult to pinpoint that's been done by the Russians, but the net result is Ukraine won't be alive or kicking for the next 50 years. As you're aware, the high half-life period of nuclear isotope is 50 years, and nothing will grow during that time. I do not know what Zelensky is thinking. I mean, he must be an extremely naive and stupid man not to realize the gravity of what's happening. The Chinese had given some proposals for a ceasefire, and he said no. He wants the Russians to withdraw, and he wants the Crimea. Now, even the American Chiefs of Staff General in a press conference said this is unlikely that the Russians can be thrown back. They are entrenched, and Russians are using this sophisticated weaponry. Though I dare say the Russian morale is probably not that high now, because the army that beat the hell out of the Germans, the Nazis, hasn't been able to do the same in Ukraine. So that is the actual fact. But gentlemen, a nuclear explosion in Ukraine is on the cards. Just mark my words. And the net result is going to be Armageddon, the third and the last war of civilization. For the West, Asia, that India and China are going to survive. The Russians will also probably survive. But then, as we all know, history is a cycle. And the days of hegemony of the British, which ended in 1945, could lead them to destruction. They're giving the most advanced rockets to Ukraine, and the Russians have warned them. England keeps need to keep in mind what Nikita Khrushchev had said. I need just 5 to 6 thermonuclear bombs, and England will cease to exist on the world map. Americans also must realize, I think Biden is senile. He hasn't understood what's happening. And the road to disaster is open now. Gentlemen, I will close now here and make my parting remark that a nuclear explosion is on the cards, but it will be an engineered explosion and you will not be able to pin out to Russia. I close now, gentlemen, and say bye bye. Jai Hind, glory to India. Please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and come back for more. Goodbye and God bless.